Hey, you folks, this is Tim Grotman. This is the OUYA Hangout for May 6th, 2013. Alright, I'll start with just got a build for whitewater. Oh, I saw it. I saw it, and I bumped the button to go to the end. No. There it is. Alright. Alright, thanks to the right controller. There we go. What should I do, Jason? Oh, watch for errors here. Oh. You do have a no reference exception, but it's not crashing it. We'll get input line 85. Hey, now that guy's pretty cool. Hey, you got water splashes now. I bet without those air logs, I might be doing 25 frames a second. Water looks pretty good. I'm stuck in the bushes. I meant to do that. There we go. That's new. You've got like a glyph that comes up that says how to roll. Let's see if I can flip it again. Oh, I'm cruising. Oh, here we go. So you in a direction spins around. Gotcha. Left stick. Oh, that was almost flawless until I hit the side. Oh, there we go.
Hello, hello.
Hey.
Hey, it's working, is it?
Yep.
That's good. 12 frames per second isn't very fast, though.
Well, it's logging a bunch of errors, so
Oh, is it?
that's where the FPS went.
Uh,
Just log into disk, just eats frame rate like crazy.
what's the error? I can't read it. It's really small. Um, oh, the Moga input. Yeah.
Just a null reference exception on line 85.
Yeah, so I have 5 rivers in there now. Or maybe there's only 4. Maybe there's 5. I don't know. And yeah, there's the river splits in a couple places and all kinds of crazy stuff now.
Man, that sounds awesome. And you got splashes.
Yeah, I put well, I had splashes before, but they were texture kind of stuff. So now I just put, like you mentioned, the boxes and
Little cubes.
yeah, little cubes.
Are
I
they
don't know if
different
it's got anything.
sizes?
What's that?
Are they different sizes?
Yeah, it's just it's like a particle system, but it's doing cubes instead. So yeah, I just have it of a variable size.
Sweet. Well, I added a couple examples to the Unity plugin.
Cool.
Here we go. This awesome thing. And I'll show you in a couple seconds. I'm just going to grab some water.
Hey, so I finally got that word detector thing working. I just had to manually set like what it was choosing when it did the switch. I just manually set that to idle when it came back, and then it wasn't automatically on the other one.
Oh, sweet.
And then it stopped the loop kind of thing. So, yeah,
Was that inside my stuff, or?
Yeah, it was like in your example 4 where you had the enum commands.
Okay.
And I just and then you have a check to see, you know, which enum command it is based on what word was detected, kind of thing.
I had some kind of enum state. Oh, all right.
Yeah. But anyways, it was stuck saying it was you know, like the label was a certain one, and so I just set it, or the enum was stuck or something. I don't know what it was.
It's probably something like I embedded some presentation logic in my GUI. All right. Well, that's cool, and it works. That's all that matters. Okay. Well, so I started last week with my regular example stuff. Let's see, not in GUI. So we have the scene show Unity input. And I added these two textures to show the left stick and the right stick. I'll push this to the OUYA though, because that's where my controllers are connected. Also, I found this hidden API inside of Unity that will display like what your license type is. What? What kind of bogus junk is that? Okay, hang on. I was just testing this default icon thing. Okay, so basically when you do help about, it displays your license stuff plus your serial number, and I just trim off the serial number so you can see, like, when I get a screenshot of something's not working, it'll just tell me, oh, well, they're on free or Android Basic or Pro or whatever. Just some handy info there.
Cool.
Okay, I have to add it to the build scene. That's why it's... Okay. So basically, it's for this. So, like, you can, as I do the left stick and right stick, it will draw on this texture. And you can make sure that your hardware is good, because you should be able to draw out the circle. I was like, that's cool, and you can do it one at a time. So then I adapted it to another example. Here we go, scene show sticks. Hey, Rupert.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, that's good. It's not completely silent now.
Yeah, that's the only reason people get me on calls, is just to make it noisy. What's going on? What's interesting? Hello?
Now everybody else went silent. How's the snowman game coming?
Oh, you know, just the usual. muting myself. Going over. I was going to go through like a couple examples I added, which are this new thingamawhat. So if I turn on all my controllers here, there's the other one. There it goes. Okay. So this lets you use your sticks and map out the areas for the right stick and left stick. So little dots correspond to the X and Y axis values that you get from the left and right stick. And then the more times it overlaps, it starts to turn white. And then the first number is like the total count of all the dots. And then the second number is how many of those dots have been updated. And then the last number is just the percentage of dots that you've updated.
So it's interesting, the completely non-circular things, is that what this is showing? That the outputs are really not that good? Well, you know, the...
No, it's showing I can't draw a circle very well.
Touche.
I mean, they're mostly circular, but it'll show like if you have a controller and it can't even go in a quadrant, or if there's any missing dots or areas, you can instantly tell if your controller's good or bad.
Well, I figured, you know, one would expect those circles to be circles, and is it like, have you tried a non-OUYA controller or like a 360 controller? Certain irony there with the whole circle thing, but you know, and it produces a beautiful circle and the OUYA ones don't. Is that the deal?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there.
Nuts. So now Tim's going to prompt this, you know, follow this with the obvious next line. So I've produced a plugin to Unity which maps the obloid thing that you're getting out to a perfect circle to give ultra beautiful control.
Technically, we could do that. It's only twice the price of a Unity license, so.
Where do I sign? Yeah, I don't think my game really requires that level of control.
Right.
But I reckon OUYA would probably buy it.
No.
Or should.
I mean, mainly you can. That level of precision isn't normally required to. I don't even have that level of precision.
Yeah, my muscles don't do that level of precision.
Yeah, I guess you kind of pointed out what I made the test for. But anyway, so there's a test. But the cool part is you can see, like, I can pull from all these axes, like, draw to a texture, and I still get 50 frames a second. So, and I did some cool camera tricks here. So there's one camera that just generates, well, it's not very exciting. It's a blank background. But then I used a second orthogonal camera to do a second rendering pass that renders all these planes. So they're all aligned. You can tell more in that previous example where it had the 3D controller, and then it treats these as like an overlay.
Oh, I see. Can I run that one past you? Because it sounded really interesting, and I think I missed it. But you're saying you were rendering to the display twice, once using a perspective camera and once using an orthogonal camera. Is that right?
Yep.
Wow. I did not know you could do that. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll show you how I set it up. And the good frame rates. So you get good frame rate.
Is that a pro thing only? I'm just...
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
So you have your main camera like usual.
I know that much. Yeah.
So you have your regular game camera or whatever. I just added a second camera without a listener on it, except for its orthographic. And then there's a culling mask. And I just say only draw the tags where I called it plot. Because I called these drawings plots, I guess. And then I tagged each one of the boxes. Each box has a plot layer.
Yeah.
And then I told the regular camera and its culling mask, draw everything except for the plot. And then in the second camera, the clear flags, I just have it as don't clear. So it renders the first camera, and then it renders the second camera.
Huh.
And then everything is perfectly flush, because it's always a pain to align stuff, so it's all
that
nice.
is a really good trick. I'm using the 2D toolkit to do my 2D stuff, and when you look in the 3D, in the 3D world, all of the 2D, like the scores for the snowmen and whatnot, they're basically floating in space above the garden or wherever it is. It looks a little strange, obviously. I wonder whether I could use that trick.
So technically, you could still even do 3D text, but you can work on it in like a different space. So like your text is always like in front of the scene, even though it appears like to have depth. Just use the second camera with the culling masks.
Is there a what are the advantages of doing it this way rather than positioning those things as the right size and scale, as it were, in the 3D world?
Yeah, so mixing it, if you mix it, like a truck could like come in front of your text, so like just things in the scene would cover up the text behind it, which you might want to do or you might not want to do.
So I actually cheated for my power-up scores. I modified the... This is just obviously a kludge because I didn't know you could do this, but I modified the shader so that they rendered in a different pass. I think a transparent pass or something, the one that shows up at the end. And it just, so all of the numbers for the scores for the explosions show up in front of the explode. I don't know.
Right.
It seemed like the way to, because I wanted them in the 3D space, so that was the best solution I could come up with. But I'm wondering now, should I have done something like this instead?
And you're manipulating the render queue?
Yeah, a little bit,
Mm-hmm. That's one way to do it.
I'm noodling things around. I hope it's okay just to, you always have like better ways of doing things. And I'm like,
no.
I did that. I did this. There's a rubbish way. So it's fascinating to see these.
When I first experimented with rendering order, I used render queues first because they're pretty easy to manipulate.
Cool. Oh, that's definitely a trick for to stick in the quiver, mixing my metaphors slightly.
Now I wonder like how many cameras you could have in your scene. Like you could even have like one camera for every object, right? And then you have absolute control over what order because they all render one thing. The only thing is the layers. You're limited to 32 layers, so.
Guess what I've been playing last week. I haven't hit the limit yet. I think I'm up to 17 so far, but you can see I'm halfway there.
Yeah, we were using a lot of layers and gravity, but then later we switched to using tags because the tags are available in the collision events. So then we didn't have to use all those layers.
Yeah, I assumed the layers were beneficial because, obviously two things you can.
Well, because it's got a bit
collisions.
mask.
Yeah, but you can the whole what is it called, the dynamics manager.
The spaghetti editor here.
Yeah. I love that editor. I think it's a really good visualization for what fundamentally is quite a complicated thing. It's nice.
It's hard to find stuff. It needs like a zoom in or something, or a search, or highlight the one I want.
Yeah, no, you're right. Actually, that is fair. But I've the thing I was going to ask you
can
about.
set these in code too, so
Yeah.
don't want to look for them all.
Oh well, yeah. If you could have told me that last week, I would have been like your best friend. But this week, I found out about ignore collision and ignore collision layer. Oh man, those are super useful. You know, being able to say, actually, weirdly enough, I don't want my football to collide with my snowman such that my snowman gets pushed up into the air whenever a football comes past him. Yeah, that's been bugging me, but I think it's fixed now, and I'll send you a version once I've tested on the tablet to make sure it works. You can say, "Oh yeah, look, football." Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'm gonna go grab the laptop. I'll be.
I can't wait.
Yeah, well, I've got a whole new football mode. Still only multiplayer, but hopefully you guys will be entertained by it. He says. Yeah, back in a sec.
Well, that's cool. So yeah, so while I was positioning these things, I just kind of set up these groups and one controller for each surface. And then they use a shared material for the left and right stick. So all this stuff is powered by just a single script here. I think I actually put it on the camera. Yeah, here we go. So, okay, so I have this OUYA plot mesh thumbstick, which you specify which it's player, but the controller number that you're trying to map to. And then you just type in the left stick and right stick text values. Although now that I think about this, I had a nice enum. I could have used the enum drop down for those. So anyways, there's the left stick and the right stick for player 1, and then player 2, and so on and so on. And then each one has a reference to what I called plot mesh, which is a mesh renderer. And then each one of these things that displays the texture is just a plane. And that plane has a material reference, and then they're just shared for all the materials. And when the script starts up, it just instantiates the material. And so that the instantiated material can have its own texture, and then it displays the cool graphs. And then you get these nice updating, super fast, good frame rate.
Do you mind my asking what you used for your drawing to the texture? You set pixels or?
Yeah, it's just set pixels.
Okay.
So that's kind of interesting how I did that. So if I jump into the code. Yeah, this guy. Oh, it's in another window. There you go. Okay, so yeah, just get access, get the access value from my common example thing, and then I kind of so the range when you get an access is from -1 to 1, and my texture size I made 128, so I've got to translate that from, so you normalize -1 to 1 to go from 0 to 127, and so that's what I do here. And it's in 0 to 127. And then instead of keep updating the same pixel over and over again, it will only update it when it changes. And then I kept just a float array for every pixel, so I can keep track of when it changes. Because since the pixel colors are a bit field, well, they're a byte. You can't just make small little increments. It won't change, and so they'll all be stuck as the initial color. So I use a float array to. Initially, it's negative, so it shows up as black, and then I set it to 0, and then it has a nice color lerp, so it goes from green to white. So it starts out as green, and then the next, if it updates that pixel again, it just bumps it up by a tiny increment, and then lerps again, and it turns a little more white, and so on until it gets full white. And then I convert that float to a color, and then convert them to RGB values. So update textures as happening in the update events. And then I had a timer for, because I only need to update the texture maybe like every 100 milliseconds. And then I only have to update these counts so that they're readable like once a second. Because otherwise it's a lot of pixels to count. And technically, since I stored the counts in these arrays for setting the pixels and stuff, I can do it in another thread, so I don't even have to use a timer. It could just count them all the time without blocking the rendering. That's probably even faster than what I did, so I could probably get it up to 60 frames a second if I threw it in a thread. And threads are great, as long as you don't try to use the Unity API in a thread, which accessing this would be totally safe.
That's an interesting question. So threads on OUYA, how have you found that? You know,
I mean,
do we know?
It's not specific to OUYA. I mean, it works on any Android device. But yeah, I'm just
thinking. You know, the Tegra 4 is one of that class of ARM processors that has, you know, I can run one thread or one core fast, or I can run 4 slightly slower. It's like 1.6 and 1.3, isn't it, or something like that? 1.7, 1.3.
Yeah, I was just wondering that part of it.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether we knew how many threads Unity already uses doing its basic stuff, you know, to get us a feeling for like, oh well, in that case I've got a couple of cores spare that I could use to do background stuff, so hence I would want to use the threads to do that. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I know, yeah, like, you know, as I've said before, I come from a Java space, and, you know, in Java you're kind of like, right, you know, I know things about like, oh, well, Java will be using this many threads, you know, or this platform will use this many threads, or this thing will use this many threads, and therefore, you know, you can't say, well, it'll be using 100% of the CPU, but you can kind of get a feeling for like, well, I could safely use a couple here, and then a couple are left to the system to do this other stuff, like whatever. I was just wondering whether, as a Unity guy, you kind of like, you go, oh yeah, well, we've safely on Android used this many, and that's been fine, type of thing. Or,
yeah.
It's a useful piece of, it would be a lovely bit of knowledge to have. I don't know whether anyone has it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can already see an interesting test that I could add right there. I mean, sure. Why not? I could have a simple, like, controller test. Press right to add a thread, and all the thread has to do is, like, add and sleep. And you can see, like, how many threads you can spawn. I mean, in desktop world, right? Like,
well, yeah, but not so much sleep, because it's not a question. It's more like how many can you keep running at the same time before you melt the box.
Yeah, but when I say sleep, I just mean yield. You do a thread.sleep with 0, and it just means yield to another thread. And if nobody else wants to yield, then so it keeps working. It just doesn't. It doesn't make your CPU hit 100%. You know.
Yeah, but that's kind of where I was going. You know, such that you could force it to use 100%, so I don't know, calculate some finite element analysis or some prime numbers or just something to keep the thread doing its business, and then you're just like, okay, so here's one doing it, not the paint thread obviously, and just keep ticking up that number. It would be interesting. I don't know. Maybe it would be interesting. It's interesting to a C#/Unity noob like me, but you guys are probably thinking, well, duh, that's obvious. So I don't know. Wow, I have never seen anybody write Unity codes from scratch using Visual Studio before.
Oh, yeah?
Am I so sucky that I always because I'm using MonoDevelop, and B, I trust when Unity says, don't do that. I'm like, don't create files outside of me. No.
It's only when you've done it like a million times and you just don't think about it anymore. And then there's that one time you've done it like 100,000 times, right? And you're like, how do I do it again?
Mm-hmm. We always used to ask people, when I worked for Sun, we used to ask people, interviewees, so what's the entry point for Java? The main thing. You remember that? Yeah, and they go, like, it's just such an innocuous piece of knowledge. And if you were typing it on a keyboard, but it's amazing how many people would do I remember what that was?
Yeah, static main.
Yeah. I don't know what the one for C# is, but or in pure C. Remember the pure C way of doing that?
Yeah, isn't it int main arg C arg B? Let's see.
Oh,
I think I got it. Let's see. All right. There's the arg count.
Oh yeah.
And then arg variables.
Going. It's close. Yeah. The name's slightly off, and you'd usually use a char star or a void these days, wouldn't you? But char star, I guess, these days.
There you go. I can make it work, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you were right with the args. It would be int for argc, because of course.
Oh yeah, okay. The number of args.
You were damn close. Yeah.
Char, there you go.
And you probably
something like that, anyways.
Yeah, and you probably do a.
And you can get away with. You can just do that.
Square brackets these days. Oh yeah. It's amazing what you can get away with in C. That's one of the joys / crimes, isn't it? Really? Anyway, blah blah. Enough of me.
Okay, so
the old days.
One thing I would add is probably we'll keep working. So like on destroy, and just make sure that they turn on. And then thread count started out as, actually it would be variable, right? And you'd want like some kind of GUI to manipulate how many threads it starts with. So start with 1. Controller manipulates the thread count. Spawn thread. Like respawn, which just calls kill threads and spawn threads because lazy. You know, people meaning me. And then probably have some input, right? So, and you could do something like, hey, if they push the button, And I can pass the key code. So if they push A, thread count, increment, respawn threads. Yeah, get an extra comma. Did I mention it's like 85 now? Summer is on.
Oh, it's a beautiful day in the UK today. It's been a public holiday as well, so May Day bank holiday. We strolled into town with our new baby in the carriage, and
Oh wow!
it was just gorgeous. There was a fete, or a fair, a kind of a thing going on in town. They had carnival, all sorts of stalls, market. The town centre was closed, pedestrians everywhere. It was just one of those perfect afternoons.
Wow, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we just have a nice list of our threads. Here's that yield thing. So if you just say 0, it'll yield. And then when it's done, just have it remove itself. Oh. Make it a parameterized thread so it can pass it to itself. And then it can remove it.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah?
Are you signed up for the Unity Windows 8 kind of thingy?
Yeah. I haven't tried it
Yeah,
yet.
you are.
I have Windows 8 on another hard drive or whatever. I just don't boot into it.
Okay.
I'm waiting for
Yeah,
the
I was just wondering.
next RC.
Right. Yeah, you're supposed to like program in Visual Studio with it.
Okay.
As far as I know, anyways, because it doesn't go through Mono. But I was just wondering if you knew if there was like a free Visual Studio like trial or something like that.
No. Wait,
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Hey,
well,
there
there's
is.
Visual Studio Express, but
There's Express.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
In Express, they removed the ability to compile console apps for free. So that's now a pro feature. It's like compiling. Come on, what? Are you kidding me? Can't do a console app?
Does that mean like command line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what you can do with
Can you still get
Express other
2010?
than JavaScript. I mean, I don't know.
Can you still get
Right.
Visual Studio 2010? Does that have that capability?
Yeah, yeah. It's only in 2012 that they removed it.
Yeah. But you're trying to build for Windows 8.
Yeah.
2012. Sorry. Yeah, never mind. But
No, I was
if
just
you've
curious. I mean,
if you've never used the Express before on that machine, the trial version has all of the features, right? If you get the trial thing.
Oh, yeah. You can have all the features for 90 days. Sure. Something
Which might be enough for Marco, maybe.
or maybe it's 60 days.
right.
6.5
Okay.
days.
Yeah, right now they don't have it that it'll pass the test or whatever using JavaScript. So I'm kind of out for that, anyways. But
You
But
guys
they're working
building the
on it.
Ravi?
Definitely something I was waiting for a long time because I was doing like Windows Phone stuff and or I wanted to,
Oh, right.
but that's not out
Yeah.
yet either. So
No, it's
this-
kind of in the same spot.
Is it Mango? Is that the? I don't know. I don't even remember the code names. It's a. I'm all in Android world now. I've left it behind.
Yay! Welcome, brother.
Yeah.
Where are my Google effects? I need some applause. Damn it!
Okay. So back to this. There we go. All right. So in our spawner thread thing, like they're going to be hitting some buttons and that's going to happen a lot, right? So depends on the mechanism I want to use to kill all the threads. If you do it the wrong way, it just the Unity editor will throw a bunch of errors or log stuff, and that's not very good looking. But if you let it shut down itself, then it just exits cleanly. So all right, just get the low-hanging fruit and then the code writes itself. So the first thing you need to do is you need a thread. And then I want the parameterized thread. Which takes a parameterized thread start. Of course it does. Parameterized thread start. And that takes the name of our worker. Thread worker. And then I think, and then a target. Well, that's a tricky one. So I was hoping to pass the thread to it. Can you make a thread and then assign the... No. Of course not. You know what you do in that case then, right? Wrap it in a class. Thread wrapper. A thread wrapper. Yeah, thread. Jeez. IntelliSense, what are you doing? Okay. And then you can just pass the thread wrapper. And you just use the thread wrapper mthread to do the thread. And it probably wants the delegate as an object, but we know it's a thread worker. Does it have a way to like, be cool if it had like I could just say thread wrapper. And it's not a Unity object, it's a object. Cast it. Cool. This isn't happy. wants a delegate inside. You want that? Why would you want that? I don't think that's what it wants. That looks pretty similar to what I... Oh, gotcha. I'm doing this in the wrong order. It's thread worker. There we go. Okay, and then you just pass it as an object, as a data, as a something, or maybe on the invoke when you invoke it. Okay, and then you pass the thread worker to the start method. Something like that. Right? Have I left you guys behind?
Not yet, but then again, I am kind of looking at this kind of for the very first time, and my thread knowledge is all based on another language, so...
Yeah. All right, so I wrapped the thread in an object so that I could construct the thread and then pass the thread to itself for some reason. So when it's in here, it can add itself to a list and then just remove itself. I think the idea was
surely the thread, a thread itself, there must be a static or something, a thread local that you use to access your own thread. You kind of thought there'd be something. At least there is in Java. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Thread.self, I think, comes out as being your own thread if you happen to be in a thread, which you're always in a thread, obviously.
Gotcha. There's actually nothing I wanted to do in here other than just like have a.
Yeah, maybe we want it to do something, right? I mean, just to keep it on the CPU using time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, nice. Classy.
Just keep it adding or doing something, so it'll keep it busy.
I thought you were going to, what are they called? Pyramid numbers.
Do a fancy calculation. Well, I could do a loop in a loop too, but then I want to keep it busy, but I don't want to bring the thing down. So it isn't a thread, but it'll just be yielding a lot, which is something you want to do, just in case.
Yeah, C equals A plus B is possibly going to be optimized out. At least many languages will just look at that and go, well, those are never going to change, so I'm just going to say, and C is never used, so
yeah.
Just
so
never
C
bother doing
the A? No, else is.
The Dart language is being developed by Google at the moment. I'm reading, I'm involved with that before doing the Unity stuff, and some of the optimizations they managed to get in there are just outstanding. So their optimizer would look at that and go, well, the answer to C equals A plus B is
It's never
1.
used, and I know it. So why are you doing it? Even ReSharper is graying it out here and says it's still not ever used.
Yeah.
We know what you're doing, but not if I do. Well, if C is equal to like 3, then like sleep.
Yeah. Now you're using it, he says. Yeah.
There you go. So this is, they have a term. It's called like debugging, which is purposely adding bugs to something so that you can find them later. And this is kind of like if they had B performance or something, so that later you'd write code like this so that you know, like, oh, I know if I remove this code later, I can, like, once a quarter I can say improved the performance by 30% because I put such inefficient code and I know right where it is and I know I can remove it.
You joke. Somebody actually did do that. It was, I think it was in, oh man, it was in one of the game programming stories that literally they put a performance like killer in the middle of their main game engine, and then they developed their whole game with that performance thing left in there intentionally, but they didn't tell anybody else. And then, people have been killing themselves to get better performance out of everything, and they're like, man, it'll only run at like 45 frames a second. It's not good enough, and they put all this effort in, and then when it came time to it, they just removed the performance killer, and it's like, and now it runs at 100. Oh my god! They released it, and it was amazing. I don't remember which story. I don't think it was Quake. It was.
Well, a lot of things that will happen will be like, so-and-so wrote this code, so it's awesome. And they're like, all right, well, if so-and-so wrote it, this got to be awesome. And then what happens is they'll tend to copy it and paste it, and then you'll have it in 2 source files, and then 4, and so on, and it just gets all over your code everywhere.
Have you ever... I don't know whether ReSharper does this stuff, but there are some tools in the Java world that they're called static analysis tools, and I think that's what ReSharper does. But they'll look at your source base and give you interesting metrics and warnings about issues. For example, one of them is copy and paste code. So you can actually spot where you or somebody else has done explicitly what you're talking about, and get it'll start degrading your kind of overall score that you get for your code, and suddenly you're like, sort of, wow, that developer over there has led to an overall, minus 50% score of our code. What are they doing?
That's awesome. That's kind of like the old Word where you could go tools analyze, and it said, you're now writing at a 4th grade reading level. Yeah,
that's totally true. There's, have you ever heard of the phrase cyclomatic complexity? It's the amount of branchiness you get within a single function, basically.
Okay.
And so your code there, you see where you go to the 3rd if, that would have the cyclomatic complexity. Oh, inside a while, that's 3. So 3 is bad, and it would give you a warning, because it's like, no, hang on a second, 3 levels, because your brain, the human brain just finds it difficult to understand, tiered cyclomatic complexity. It doesn't say anything about OO, of course, because, you can get much worse by going down the OO.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But
yes, but it's OO, and then you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That was what I got.
So class A method, method 1 calls into class B method 1, which calls class A method 2, which calls class B method 2, which calls class A method 3, which calls class B method. Ah!
Yeah. And then your head explodes.
Yeah. Have you guys ever read Masters of Doom? That's another one for. If you've never read
Make
it,
a note. Masters.
It's about the guys. It's just the story of writing Doom. The 2 Johns, Carmack and Romero. I think I've got the title right. It's been a few years since I read it, but it's a. I tell you, if you're in the middle of reading that, you really, really, really want to just get some pizza and some heavy coffee, or Coke or whatever, and write some code, man. It's so motivating.
I just watched Von Doom in Iron Man Armored Adventures Season 2, where it's an animated Iron Man series. Just watching with the kids.
Sounds good.
And Von Doom had the Night Maculon ring they got back. Haven't seen the new movie yet, so.
Oh, is this Iron Man 3?
Yeah. But
yeah.
They've had an animated series going on. The 2nd season just came out. So.
I've not seen any of those. That sounds good.
Oh, yeah. It's a great visual style, too, and a good story. So.
There was a really good Spider-Man one a while back that got canned by the MTV guys. I've got it on DVD somewhere. I can't remember what it's called, but Yeah, there's some really good animation going on these days.
Is it the one where he's dressed like a fly? Like he goes to a parallel universe or something, and then it's like you're watching Spider-Man, but it really could be Flyman the way that he's dressed.
Not that I know of.
He's forced to leave the city, and then
No,
he
not
goes
that
to a
one.
world where it has Beastmen.
Mm,
Oh yeah.
I've not seen that one. But if you have a reference to it, I'm a bit of a Spidey fan, so I'm more than happy to
Oh yeah.
waste some time watching that.
I think it's either the Amazing Spider-Man or like the Ultimate Spider-Man. It might be so good that it's only available in the States.
Mm. Hang on a
Okay,
second.
well anyways, I'm gonna
Let me just
include
press the Google Plus effect, electrify presenter. button.
Okay, well I'll work on this a little bit. It'd be interesting to see, this will be a good test. I'll have the controller manipulate the number of threads. It'll just keep working, and then also I'll add the usual like frame rate counter and stuff. And okay, I do have some other cool stuff that are kind of related. So we had talked about CPU usage before. Like how are you reading CPU usage? That was in the FPS graph, right? You had another way to get CPU usage?
Are you asking Rupert?
Yeah, Rupert.
Uh,
We had talked about it before.
yeah. FPS graph. Another way?
I found another way to do it, which was running on the Java side. You run a command to just get the CPU stat information. So here, maybe I can find where I was doing that. So in the here we go. Now it's Java time.
Stop. Java time. Quick, put on your big baggy
Exactly.
pants.
Okay, I
I'm never
commented it out for now, but I put it into a metrics class. Here we go. There's like some of these things could be useful
proc
for
stat,
later.
right. Interesting. But does that work?
Yeah,
Of
you
your own
can-
process,
you
I
can run
suppose
it.
it does, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just reading the process stat, but it's all confusing about what all the numbers mean. So anyways, this is
Yeah, no, I
one way
know.
to
That's cool. That's interesting, yeah. That's a really
if you
good
have
idea.
a good way to get it. But that gives you access to all 4 process CPUs on the OUYA.
Oh, wow.
So
That is good, yeah.
and then we can just pass that back to Unity.
Mm. You know, I don't know about OUYA, but on normal Android, if you go to the settings and then go to, this is not, actually no, that's nowhere near as good as that. Let's just stick with using that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so if you have a good way to display it, I was displaying it, but I don't know, it wasn't fluctuating very much, or maybe the CPU just doesn't work very hard because the numbers were barely even fluctuating. Like the first CPU was working hard, and the other 2 were just like, whatever.
Yeah, well, okay. So that's the reason I asked you about the thread thing, because you know what I meant when I was saying earlier about the Tegras. Many of the ARM processors have this idea of having a single core running faster or multiple cores running slower. Yeah, and does that ring a bell?
Well, it kind of sounds like hyper-threading a little bit, where you can this was before they actually had like dual cores, and you could do like virtual hyper-threading where you had you split your CPU down into multiple cores. But I get the concept, basically.
Yeah, I remember the phrase hyperthreading, and sadly I'm really not a hardware person, so I couldn't say whether that's hyperthreading. No, I don't know. It's the straight answer there. I'm not going to bullshit.
Okay.
but the as I understand it, yeah, your Tegra 3 and the Qualcomms and some of the others, they'll run one core faster, or 4 or whatever it is, cores slightly slower. And what I was wondering was whether Unity is set up in a way to run, in the single core faster, which you could see would be good for certain things in games, like keeping the frame rate high. If you're not actually using other threads, then you only need the one. Great, go with it, type of thing. Or whether Unity ran. I guess it's a question for like Stack Overflow or something, or Unity Stack Overflow. It seems one of those things that, because if you found out that was the case, then you'd probably explicitly not spawn any other threads. But yeah, I don't know. For example, obviously we're running in the CLR, and it's a mono CLR. I don't know what the right term for that is.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be doing. I don't know whether it's a concurrent garbage collector, or I have no idea. I've just bought the CLR C# via the CLR book, and I've got a couple of others. The Nutshell and the I don't know what the other one was. C# in depth books, because I figure, well, I'm using C# now. I really ought to kind of learn it. Those seem like the best ones, but if you've got any other recommendations, obviously, I have 3 books in my book backlog now that I still haven't read. So hey, what am I going to do? But yeah, so I don't know what the answer is there.
Just the C# O'Reilly book is pretty good.
Yeah,
as a reference. On the thread stuff, I'm just thinking of like expanding the thread test a little bit. Where you could actually spawn threads at 3 levels, right? You can spawn threads in Unity, you can spawn threads in Java, and you can spawn threads in the NDK C++ level. So we could all control that from the Unity example, and then maybe I'll just expand it to be like one crazy super hacker test that you can spawn at all levels, and then we just use this random access thing to
watch it and see how it changes. Yeah, it's a really good idea.
If you know a way of like getting valid data out of this, like that makes sense. Maybe it's the same data that I was getting. I'll send you my. Well.
Yeah, no, I'd love to help. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, I grabbed this right off of the stack, just like everybody else. So. I mean, it's not doing a lot other than just to use a.
Man, it's coming out as text. Nice. Of course. Yeah, no, let's face it, it's going to be coming out in whatever the Unix man page for procstat says it's supposed to be coming out as, I would imagine. So, yeah, have a little look in there. Graph it.
Oh, I see. I modified it a little bit to look for specific CPUs. So I passed in the label. Let me just show what happens when you look at this file to make it clear what's going on.
Yeah, actually, get a command line and cat that puppy.
Okay, so now you're in there. So basically, it tells you like all the CPUs, and so what that little thing is doing is reading the file, and then I just pass in a string. Give me 0 through whatever. So it's printing the whatever that is. From whatever example code I copied and pasted, but I don't know how reliable it is. So I'm looking for somebody to be like, oh, well, everybody knows it's this one means this thing, and this is how you get super accurate metrics. So.
Well, tell you what, I'm on a Linux system, actually on the machine that I'm watching this display on. So let's see whether. Hello, terminal. Thank you.
Oh, because you can do man?
Yeah.
I can't do man.
Well, all man pages are on the interwebs these days, aren't they? It's depressing.
Yeah, that's true.
Stat display, no. Yes, the next one. Not that one. Stat, mount stats, no.
You figure the guy that wrote this, right? He'd be like, it's too easy to just write a percentage. That's nobody. You know, like or maybe is this like a start date? I don't even know what it is.
That would be funny. I wouldn't put it past a Unix hacker to include a start date in there, I've got to say. Net Unix procstat, here we go. Okay, hang on a sec. CPU, this gives 4 numbers. The amount of time measured in units of user hertz, thousandth of a second on most architectures. That the system spent in user mode with low priority, in other words nice, system mode and idle task respectively. The last value should be user hertz times the second entry in the uptime pseudo file. Okay. 3 additional columns. IO wait, time waiting for IO to complete. IRQ, time servicing interrupt. So have we got these numbers? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the last 3 are always zeros. So
anyway, so we have a little bit of information to. I've seen that. It's just kind of a little bit weird that they can't, like.
I would be tempted to make a color sectioned graph. I don't know what those, a filled graph type of thing with the various colors. Oh, it could be cute. It could be all 3D-ish. I was going to say how you represent 4 of those on the same thing. I'm not sure, but 4 quadrants perhaps. But yeah. Number of page systems paged. You've got page up there. Yeah. No. Interesting.
All right, that's.
Yeah.
That's a job for Modo. Sorry. Here we go.
What the?
I was just thinking of the graph. Okay, so it could be.
Oh, you're going to visualize the. Yeah, cute. Yeah. I'm thinking segmented. 4th dimension is the.
You have the whatever, and then for your different.
Yeah.
CPU 1. Oops. And they just have them side by side.
In 1998, sorry, I did a performance analysis, a network system performance analysis tool using VRML. So you could actually walk around the virtual network of your computers as they were all running and look for oh, that one's red over there, that's not a good sign, and do stuff like that. Anything involving these sorts of things always takes me back to that. Nice.
Anyway, so you'd have like the CPUs coming across and.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was picturing.
Pop that in the asset store and. $10. I'd pay $10 for a nice graph like that.
And then some colors down the side indicating what the various amounts of each thing is running. Yeah, totally. Bit of spray paint, nobody will be able to tell it's a complete hack. Why doesn't it ever change? Well, your system's really stable. What?
There you go. I find the wrong material. I just needed a reason to open up Modo. Oh, I did it twice. If you're going to make a new material, you got to name it a different material. There you go. There we go. Anyways. Yeah, so just scroll by and you see your different CPUs. And so on and so on. You could even do it in a shader with like a height map or something.
Mm-hmm. That would be a good way of doing it, you're right. Would that be a good way of doing it?
And since there's
Something using a...
that could be base too, so just a really long text. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably start with the simple version to start with.
Yeah.
I've got to go and make baby formula, so I'm going to mute myself for a bit.
Oh yeah. Actually, I'm gonna stop the hangout, but yeah.
Ah, damn it! I didn't get you to send you the snowman. Damn it.
Well, I'll do that right afterwards. But this is the end of the broadcasted part.
Oh man, this is a wee broadcast. Oh, it's embarrassing. What a load of rubbish we've been speaking here. What am I supposed to be showing you? Am I going to show you the football, or am I going to show you this thing? Ooh.
Oh, football, definitely.